Oh. Yeah, plug in the down there. Just out of curiosity, are those gonna like be built in?
No, it's built in, will be like data and all that, right? It'll still be like this, but this, we don't want to build it, then it's county.
Sure.
It's the difference.
Okay, good. Because the screen says that we start in 15 minutes, 14 something.
Counting up.
Up.
Now you're really confused.
Yes, I am. Okay. All right, I'm gonna start. Okay, good evening. I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting of the City of Bloomington Township to order. If everyone could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Kearns,
Present.
trustee Bolin,
Here.
trustee Matney,
Here.
trustee Dannenberger,
Here.
trustee Becker,
Here.
trustee Hendricks.
Here.
Trustee Ward. Here. Trustee Lee,
Here.
trustee Crumpler,
Here.
trustee Malomboy.
Here. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
We do not.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move approval.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, motion by trustee Ward, second by trustee Hendricks.
We're gonna do
Roll
voice
call.
vote.
Okay,
Trustee Kearns,
Yes.
trustee Bolin,
Yes.
trustee Matney,
Yes.
trustee Dannenberger,
Yes.
trustee Becker,
Yes.
trustee Hendricks.
Yes.
Trustee Ward,
Aye.
trustee Lee,
Yes.
trustee Crumpler,
Yes.
trustee Malomboy.
yes. Moving on to the regular agenda, item A, bid approval for request for proposal by Evergreen Memorial Cemetery for 4 new columbaria. Is that how you say it? Columbaria? Okay. As requested by the township supervisor. And I'm going to turn the floor over to Township Supervisor Skillroot, maybe for some brief comments. If you have any.
I really don't have anything more than what's already been laid out. It's pretty much self-explanatory. This is in the budget. They're planning it properly in 3 phases, and I think they're doing a good job just filling the mausoleum area with the columbarium, which they had planned for a long time.
Okay. Do we have any questions? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, motion by trustee Crumpler, second by trustee Bolin. Voice vote again?
Mhm.
Okay,
Trustee Kearns,
Yes.
trustee Bolin,
Yes.
trustee Matney,
Yes.
trustee Dannenberger,
Yes.
trustee Becker,
Yes.
trustee Hendricks.
Yes.
Trustee Ward,
Aye.
trustee Lee,
Yes.
trustee Crumpler,
Yes.
trustee Malomboy.
yes. Next item is a report by elected officials, and we're gonna start with Township Supervisor Skillroot.
I do have one story to tell. And trustee Lee had come into our office. I do appreciate the new elected officials providing us the paperwork we need for and the employment paperwork. I did talk to Nicole Albertson, and I think in the future, we're going to try to get it from her so that you only have to do it once instead of with I think in the past, we've tried to do that before. And there felt like there was some privacy issues or something with that. But if we have the approval, or I mean, the okay permission from the newly elected officials to receive that from the city, will be that much quicker in getting the information, and you won't have to do it doubly so. Okay, so we had a client since 2005, and he recently passed away. I just want you to understand that when I talk about a client, that's somebody who comes in monthly, checks in with us, does our workfare program if they're able. And I just want to give you a little story, because our caseworkers and our staff become kind of build this relationship with somebody. It's obviously on a professional manner, but you still get touched when somebody passes away. So we had somebody pass away recently. So I allow my staff, when we have that kind of a connection with them, to just attend their funeral. And they did for an hour. And I just want you to know that what we do means a lot to our staff. We're passionate about what we do. We do it by the book. So it's definitely by law that we do what we do. It's interesting because no day is the same, because there are so many interesting cases that come through. And I can tell you stories all day long on that, but I just wanted you to know how passionate my staff is and how we are when it comes to serving the general assistance population. So a story is good for just getting you to understand a little bit about what we do and how we are connected with our clientele. Not all of them are that way, by the way, but most of them are really, really good. And we miss them. So I really don't have too much more to say other than the HERE program's already at $100,000. This is our first month, and I'm not talking about previous month, I'm talking about just recently, where we've actually utilized the HERE program more than once because somebody didn't meet their arrears amount of $3,000. So if they're able to kind of overcome in stages, some of them, and this is really the first one that we're able to do that. So last month's rent didn't have the newest month, which is June. So it took care of May and the late fees with May, but June came around just like that. And the person had another eviction notice from the same place. And so in order to get them caught up, we gave them a little bit more because it was still under the threshold that we have. So we're not trying to make a habit of that. Usually what we try to do is extend the date that we see the person so that they include the next month's rent, just to give them that jump start to get their feet on the ground again. So this is the first one where I've really paid attention to that actually happened, where we did our second one within the month just to get that caught up. Do you have any questions for me regarding any of that? So also the other thing is the decennial committee. I'm starting to pull together some information about our operations because that was requested. And then we'll do comparisons with the city. Just for your information, that's on the table. And then July 16th is when the movers will be there to bring the assessor staff over to the general assistance, general town side, so that we can begin the work of the renovation on their side.
Okay, sounds good. Question? Trustee
I don't
Crumpler.
have a question. This is just a comment. Deb, just looking at the report and listening to you, it sounds like the HERE program is really starting to make a difference in this community. And I'm really glad, that your office is able to handle it and administer it in a way that is making a difference with people who need it. So thank you for that.
Yes, thank you, Trustee Crumpler. But I wanted to say one more thing about that. There is a law that is passed regarding 60 ILCS 85-13. I was a part of the discussions early on with this, with the township officials of Illinois. Sorry, I'm talking too long. Okay, so this one comes from the Laws and Duties Handbook, which is basically township code. And there are a series of items that we can partake in terms of helping the community. One is in health, another parks and rec, another, public access to restrooms, which we've talked about in the past. and a number of things. The last one on that list that's provided as statutes on how a township can assist the community is service for the poor and aged. Now, you know, that's what we do on the general assistance side, right? But that, on that side of the town fund, that is where the HERE program is coming from, trustee Crumpler. The HERE program is coming out of those funds because of that law. All right. Now, the new law that's come and it's passed bipartisan approval from the state that we can decide with board approval which funds those come out of if we're going to do that. So the HERE program could come out of general assistance once that's signed by the governor, but it's not quite signed yet by him, but it should be soon. So I just want to kind of inform you about the newest legislation about that. I can get you that number later. I just don't remember it now. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm done.
Good. Thank you. I don't see any other questions, so we're gonna turn it over to Township Assessor Scudder.
Hey, good evening. The report I submitted tonight is the comparison report I've submitted in the past. Your tax bill is made up of your assessed value minus any exemptions times the tax rate equals what each individual would pay for their property. And the comparison chart below that is the city municipal rate and the total rate for the taxpayer. And it's a comparison of municipal areas in McLean County. Any questions?
No, it doesn't look like it. Okay. I think at this point that I'm gonna ask for a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion by trustee Bolin. Second by trustee Becker. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're adjourned. See you at 6 o'clock. Thank you. I got the thumbs up. That means we are ready to roll. Everybody got quiet all of a sudden. Is everybody excited? Yeah, say yes. All right, awesome. Good job, class. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting of the City of Bloomington to order. And if everyone could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Who was that talking? Didn't we say moment of silence? Right. I might ask the police officers to make an arrest. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll? Save me.
Councilmember Kearns,
Present.
Councilmember Bolin.
Here.
Councilmember Motney, Councilmember Dannenberger,
Here.
Councilmember Becker,
Here.
Councilmember Hendricks,
Here.
Councilmember Ward. Here. Councilmember Lee,
Here.
Councilmember Crumpler,
Here.
Mayor Millwamboy.
Here. Next item on the agenda is recognition and appointments, and we're going to go ahead with a presentation of City of Bloomington Police Department Police Officers Commission certificate to officers Jose Zavala, Jaime Tabelung, and Dakota DeMoss, Trey Jones, Weston Grisham, and John Gaffney upon completion of the probationary period as requested by the police department. Chief Symington.
I'm grateful for the opportunity to acknowledge five officers who received their commission this evening before the council and the community. These officers successfully completed consent month probation, a basic police training which consisted of 12 or 14 weeks, and an academy program approved by the Illinois Officer Training and Standards Board, and a 12 to 18-week field training program. They each have chosen this noble profession, which requires a servant's heart, high integrity, tremendous courage. They respond to danger and problems in the community without hesitation. These officers gladly serve with 119 other police officers with their agency who have taken the oath of office to serve in law enforcement in this profession and make a difference in this community. I am very thankful for their sacrifices, their interest in our police department, their valiant efforts and commitment to duty on a daily basis. We will start with Officer Jamie Tabling. Officer Jamie Tabling was hired on August 2nd, 2021. She graduated from Unity High School in Tolono and attended Parkland College in Champaign. Prior to joining the Bloomington Police Department, she worked in real estate in Champaign for 9 years. Officer Tabling received 2 exemplary performance citations for teamwork and professionalism. Next, we'll have Officer Jose Zavala. Jose was also hired on August 2nd, 2021. He worked for the Transportation Safety Administration for 5 years in Chicago and Bloomington before joining the Bloomington Police Department. Officer Zavala attended Pontiac Township High School. He has a beautiful, loving, and supportive girlfriend who is also in attendance, who is also his high school sweetheart. They have a 4-year-old dog, Lucy. Jose has received 2 citations for exemplary performance.
Okay, before you go on, I just want to say something. I mispronounced Jamie's first name, and I blame Jose for that because I was going with the Spanish theme. And I said Jaime, so sorry, Jamie.
Next, we'll have Officer Trey Jones. Officer Trey Jones was hired January 3rd, 2022. He was born and raised in Bloomington Normal. He graduated from Normal Community High School and from McKendree University with a bachelor's in sociology with an emphasis in criminal justice. Officer Jones enlisted in the Army National Guard in 2017, where he served as a drone pilot. He was hired by the Chicago Police Department in 2018, worked there for 3 years before joining the McLean County Sheriff's Department. He then transferred to the best agency in the area. He is currently a field training officer and recently became a drone pilot for the department. He has received department recognitions for exemplary performance. Trey has a wonderful girlfriend, Isabella Mendez. She's also in attendance. Together, they have a 2.5-year-old named Wesley. John Gaffney. Officer John Gaffney was hired on February 2nd, 2022. Before joining the Bloomington Police Department, he worked 3 years each for the Normal Police Department and the DeWitt County Sheriff's Office. He is a field training officer. Officer Gaffney is also an Army veteran and a graduate of Illinois State University, where he earned a bachelor's degree. John has been married to his wife, Alex, for 7 years, and they have 2 beautiful children, Kellen and Claire. Officer Weston Gresham. Officer Weston Gresham was also hired on February 2nd, 2022. He worked as a Pontiac Corrections officer at the Illinois Department of Corrections for 3 years, and also for Parkland Police Department for 1.5 years, and then over to the McLean County Sheriff's Office. He then joined the Bloomington Police Department and currently serves on the SWAT team and as a TASER instructor, a Federal Bureau of Investigation ground tactics instructor, and a Gracie survival tactics instructor. Officer Gresham served as an FTO and recently became a detective in the Criminal Investigations Division. He's been married to his wife Shelby for 7 years, and they have 4 children together. Berlin, 17, and Joe, 6, Everett, 2, and Ella, 10 months. Mayor, that'll be it. We have one outstanding for a later date, but I do again appreciate the time to give us the opportunity to acknowledge these fine women and men of the Bloomington Police Department. And thank you for your continued support.
Thank you, Chief. And I want to thank all of them for joining the best law enforcement agency in the world. We definitely appreciate your sacrifice, your commitment, dedication to the city of Bloomington, but we also appreciate the sacrifice of your families, because I know when you serve, you're not serving alone. You are serving with the support of your family. So we definitely appreciate that. Thank you very much. Very, very happy to have you on the force. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a proclamation of Eid-ul-Adha, a celebration day as requested by the administration department. And I believe we have Faisal Rashid here and the Imam to accept the proclamation. So if you want to step up to the podium, I will. You've been here before, so you know how this works. I will read the proclamation and we'll get a chance to do a picture real quick, and then give you a chance to also say a few words if you'd like, okay? Whereas on June 28th, 2023, Eid-ul-Adha is celebrated by the Muslim community all over the world. And whereas this Eid is a day of gathering by the people of Allah as he renews his bounties in them and distributes his blessings to his worshipers, while also calling on them to share their bounties with the needy. And whereas on this day, Muslims will sacrifice an animal, a ram, goat, sheep, cow, or camel. The meat is divided among the poor and the needy. One part is distributed among relatives and friends, and the family uses one part. Also, Muslims go to Mecca to perform Hajj in Mecca, one of the important pillars of Islam. This is a major holiday for Muslims to visit each other and give gifts to children. And whereas Bloomington is a culture diversified community, and through the graciousness of the Islamic Center of McLean County, they have invited others of the community to witness the strength of their faith and to share in their joyousness on this day. And whereas the strong and serious character of the families of the Islamic Center of McLean County have enriched the fabric of Bloomington through their faith, good deeds, substantial achievements, and commitment to the Americans' values of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, therefore, I, Mboka Malambwe, Mayor of Bloomington, do hereby proclaim June 28th, 2023 as Eid ul-Adha Celebration Day in Bloomington, and urge all of our residents to recognize and respect the goodness of the Islamic faith and its people, to move beyond tolerance of others who may not share religions, and learn to accept and appreciate all people in the spirit of true brotherhood to further build Bloomington intercultural strengths. Thank you. I think it's not on. Yep, there you go.
Thank you, Mayor Zimbabwe and the city councils for this important day for us Muslims. As you know, I hope this proclamation actually is a symbol for unity, tolerance, and acceptance for all. And we do appreciate everything that you guys have done for us and our whole community, and we hope that we can bridge this gap, not only now, but for, in the future. So on that note, we like to extend an invitation. This Wednesday is our Eid prayer at 9 a.m. This is right behind the Tesla lot. So if you get, everyone is welcome to join us. So the prayer is at 9 a.m. and then 9:30 we have breakfast, followed by we have bouncy castles, and we have a few other things for the kids. So we definitely would extend the invitation for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a recognition of boards and commissions appointments and reappointments as requested by the administration department. I believe we have there you go.
We have the reappointment of Michael Rakes to the Rakes, thank you. Building Board of Appeals. We also have the reappointments to the John M. Scott Healthcare Commission, Angela Janensky, Judy Newbrander, Beely Sebastian, and Karen Stipp.
That's it? Okay, thank you. And now we are going to move on to public comment. And do we have any public comment?
We didn't have any emailed public comment, but we do have 11 individuals registered for public comment in person.
Sounds good. So public comment usually goes for 30 minutes. So we will, I will ask that if you are going to speak on the same topic, maybe you designate somebody or say the same thing, designate somebody to do this so we can get through everybody. Or speak, maybe take a little bit less time than the 3 minutes. Everybody has 3 minutes. So do a little math. 10 times 3 is 30, 33. So everybody needs to speak for maybe 10 seconds less or something. That wasn't accurate. Okay. Public comment is an opportunity for speakers to provide their views and feedback to the city council. It is also an opportunity for the city council to listen and hear diverse points of view. To maximize the impact of public comment and show respect for the expression of all views, speakers should maintain civility and focus on city issues. Speakers must identify themselves for the record, but are not required to give their address. Each speaker is given the floor for 3 minutes, and the council does not respond or engage in debate. Any speaker that engages in threatening or disorderly behavior will be deemed out of order and their time ceased. So can you go ahead with the first one?
First, we have Ann Clotton.
Hello, is this on? Can you hear me? Okay.
Mhm.
My name is Ann Colleton. First, thank you to the mayor and council for the commitment you all have made to serving our community. I'm speaking tonight because I support the establishment of a commission to analyze gun violence in Bloomington, how and why and where, and to figure out what we can do as a community to address any needs or support any community efforts to end gun violence and the fear of gun violence we now all live with. The number one way that children in the United States of America die today is through gun violence. We must not accept this. We must illustrate that we do not accept this. We must act to change this as fast as we can change it. I belong to Be Smart, a national program developed by Everytown for Gun Safety Support Fund. It is a 501c3 organization which focuses on awareness and educational work to spread the message of the need for secure storage of firearms and how to accomplish this. The McLean County Community Health Needs Assessment for 2022 contains a shocking information. Since 2017, the rate for age-adjusted emergency room visits due to adolescent suicide and intentional self-inflicted injury in the Bloomington zip code of 61701 is 257.5 emergency room visits per 10,000 population, ages 10 to 17. This is the worst 25th percentile compared to other zip codes in Illinois. I was unable to obtain how these suicides were committed, how many of these young people used a firearm. WGLT reported the number of gunshots fired in Bloomington Normal in 2022 was 69. Every one of those 69 gunshots impact the people who hear them. It is not just the people who are shooting and being shot, but it is all the people who are in the vicinity, who are relatives and friends of the people in the vicinity, let alone the loved ones of those involved in the shots fired. 69 gunshots create an emotional, physical, and spiritual toll on many more people than we can ever know. Or can we know? Let's investigate this in our community. Let's find out how and why and where and what we can do as a community to address any needs we discover and to support any community efforts to end gun violence and the fear of gun violence we now all live with. For truly, we are all interconnected. 15 seconds to go.
Thank you. Thank you. Next.
Next, we have Mike Majika.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, citizens. I'm here tonight to represent Not in Our Town, and we are also supporting the Special Commission for Safe Communities and highly encourage passage of this. As someone who has lived in Bloomington, now lives across Division Street, I called Mayor Coos this morning and said, would Normal like to collaborate on this? He was very positive. He didn't give, yes, we'll jump in there right away, but he would like to learn more. He'd like to open dialogue on this and said he'd be very curious of the end result and how this could be worked on together. So on behalf of Not in Our Town, very much urge you to pass this special commission. If we can save one life, if we can keep one young person from prison, I think our money will be well spent and our energy will be well spent. And I hope we include Normal in the county as we do outreach on this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Next, we have William Bennett.
Oh, there you go. I was gonna say, I don't see him here, but
My wife told me I had to come speak, so I'm here. Got to listen to your wife. So I'm here to speak about the honorary designation on the 1300 block of West Taylor in honor of my family. So I get to speak about my father a little bit, who passed in 2003. But in 1976, my mother and my father started City of Refuge Ministries in Bloomington. A few years after that, they had me and my brother. We've been in Bloomington all our lives. This will be an honor for our family, my mother, and in legacy of my father, for the simple fact that all my life, I'm getting teary-eyed when I think about him. All my life, what I've seen from my mother and father is that our last name represents service. And we love this community. We love serving this community. And I could list all the ways we serve, but I don't think that's necessary. I would just like to say that we're doing our best now to continue his legacy of serving people, serving the church, serving our community. And I hope that if this is approved, that people will see the name Bennett and ask, who is that? And that stories of service can be told, that my children one day could see it and continue in the legacy of the grandfather, grandmother, and myself. But it's not just for me, and it's not just about my family. The reality is, I wouldn't be who I am without God first, but without the people that have supported the Bennett name throughout many, many years. So this is also for hundreds of people who support serving people and serving this great community of Bloomington that we love. And I generally don't do this because I'm a preacher and I generally don't give time back, but I'm going to be obedient. I'm going to do that today.
thank you, thank you. Well,
Next
everybody
we-
else has a tough act to follow in giving time back.
Next, we have Troy Zelznick.
So I got a fancier hat since the last time I was here. Didn't get a better haircut. And the apathetic youth that the county chairs, put a fire under my butt, and now you guys got to deal with me. I'm here to speak on the housing crisis again. Over the last year, I have become an educator, a mentor, and a coach. Before last summer, when Heartland decided to take a chance on me and give me that opportunity to become a teacher and teach game design out at Heartland with their Kids at Heartland program, I was homeless. I was sleeping in my truck because of the very actions of this council. Because this council so arrogantly lifted our eviction moratorium, I was one of hundreds of our citizens who were railroaded out of their homes so these skyrocketing rent prices could happen. Leadership, y'all, continue to acknowledge these raising rent prices without acknowledging the very practices that lead to those, mainly eviction. Look anywhere, it's eviction. That's how they raise their rent prices. You can listen to the Pulitzer-winning Evicted by Matthew Desmond and get that story time and time again, because it's how they do that. But the last time I was here, I said this council was incapable of representing me. We're going to get into that a little bit today. As some of you may not know, realtors are some of the biggest lobbyists in our nation. They make up some of the most damaging practices of our democracy. Mr. Mayor, you took $5,000 from them. John, you are my representative. You took $1,000 from them. By my math, for the growth I've done, I get paid $14 an hour. You owe me 71 hours fighting this. Not for them. I live here, not them. I spent the time on the street, not them. The people who put me on the street made $900 million last year. And you're telling me when I come here that they need a tax break. It is exhausting. Spent the year transforming my life for it not to be good enough. Leave you with 30 seconds.
Okay. Next.
Next, we have Jackie Byer.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jackie Byer. I'm here to speak about the Special Commission for Safe Communities. I do not think the creation of this commission will add value to the data and studies we already have available, nor come up with any credible proposals. According to the crime map, there were a total of 3 homicides in Bloomington in 2021. In the first quarter of 2022, there were 3 homicides. The second quarter of 2022, there was 1 homicide. The rest of 2022, there were none. 2022 was also the year that Bloomington Police Department recovered 88 illegally possessed guns by the end of 2022, which was a recent history record compared to the 5-year average of 50. That is a 76% increase in guns taken off the street. There has only been 1 homicide this year. That means there has only been 1 homicide in the last 12 months. Based on this data, you could conclude that getting 88 illegally possessed guns is the magic number to almost eliminate homicides in Bloomington. No, but can you conclude that? No, but you can conclude the huge efforts made by our Bloomington Police Department has made a huge positive impact. What is the probability that there will never be another homicide? We don't know. Neither will we know the impact of any recommendation that comes out of this commission because the data set is not large enough to come to any definitive conclusions. But I think it does indicate that the Bloomington Police Department is doing a great job and is effective in keeping this community safe. I agree with everything that Alderpersons Montney, Becker, and Boland said last week. I think grad students could be utilized to gather and study data. I think this initiative belongs with the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, and we don't need to spend an unknown amount of money creating another silo. Thank you for your time.
Next, we have Gary Lambert.
Good evening. I am Gary Lambert. I too would like to speak about the Gun Commission. I know I'm getting old and my memory's not as good as it used to be. But I don't recall any discussion or comments about making this commission a quasi-permanent operation. It may have been said and I missed it. But I thought it was going to be something with a fixed time period yet to be set, some number of months likely. To whoever wrote it, I do thank them for putting in a specific review period, but it will take council action to disband it. also on the commission, in looking through the qualifications to participate. I looked down the list of these organizations. They're all very fine people, I'm sure. But I don't see any representation for the people most likely to be impacted by any recommendations. And that's the lawful gun owner. It would be possible to have 9 people sitting on this commission without having a single individual who owned a gun. Yet putting out recommendations for those who legally and constitutionally own those guns. Wouldn't it be nice to have a requirement for some number of people on that commission? I'd like to see 5 who have a FOID card or a concealed carry card. Those who know something about guns, to make sure that we don't come up with another bureaucratic proposal. Thank you.
Next.
Next, we have Sarah Breeden.
Hi, my name is Sarah Breeden. I volunteer with Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America, part of Everytown for Gun Safety. Gun violence claims over 120 lives per day and wounds more than 200 each day in the United States. It's a complex issue that impacts every community. It is an epidemic that includes community violence, domestic violence, police violence, and suicide by gun, which is often not discussed, but accounts for nearly 2/3 of all gun deaths. It's critical for communities to learn about their own gun violence in order to address it. And because there are multiple root causes of gun violence, a multifaceted approach is necessary to effect change. I watched the video of the June 19th Committee of the Whole meeting where Councilmember Ward's proposal for the commission to research and address gun violence was discussed. It was disheartening to see resistance that seemingly dismisses the issue, saying we already have the data, as if that alone solves the problem. Or that maybe some other group might do something with the data, but with no actual plan as to which of those groups would do so. Ironically, the comments from council members voting no at that meeting ultimately underscored the need to bring together the data of the very groups mentioned. Comments that we are blessed with low numbers are of no comfort to the survivors in our community whose family members have been taken by gun violence. Comments about whether the focus should be on Bloomington or the region highlight the need to start somewhere. Starting in Bloomington can benefit the entire region. Comments depicting the commission as creating a silo are also misguided. The commission would do just the opposite by sharing existing data from any current silos of disparate committees, boards, and the like by using shared data for expanded collaboration. There was a question about outcomes. One example of a tool that could be employed at the recommendation of the special commission surrounds extreme risk protection orders, also known as red flag laws. These laws address removing firearms in situations where someone is at risk of harming themselves or others. Determining what stakeholders need to foster effective use of ERPOs can save lives. There is federal funding available for states with red flag laws, and Illinois passed this legislation in 2019. Each June, the mayor issues a proclamation raising awareness of gun violence and recognizing gun violence survivors. This proposal can be a vehicle to go beyond proclamation by honoring survivors with action. Several council members repeated the phrase, "one gun death is too many," and I agree. It shouldn't have to happen to you or constituents in your ward for you to care. Let's move from why we won't do this to how we will do this.
Next.
Next, we have Scott Steinling.
Scott Steinling. My concern is an condition of the streets in this town. I was extremely disappointed that the city fireworks were not canceled for 23. But then again, that is not a real surprise. If you take that money that you spend on those fireworks and put those right into the roads, you know, this would be another world. But it's amazing that all of the sidewalks around the government center, county buildings, city buildings are all ADA accessible. You go into the real world, into the residential areas, they are not. And there is only one in my area that is, and that was because I told the grandmother that saw our junior high granddaughter in a wheelchair up over a curb. That still wouldn't be like that. At that time, Jim Karsh was the public works director, and she must have called because there was a truck out there the next morning at 7:30 to put that sidewalk in. That does not speak well for the city of Bloomington. People have said to me, they said, I can't believe the potholes in this city. I said, get used to it. I said, they're all over the city. But I guess, you know, if you stop and think, if you cancel those fireworks, you wouldn't have the additional police. You wouldn't have the additional fire. You know, there'd be a lot of expense you could cut out, but no, Normal has theirs, so Bloomington's going to have theirs. And to me, that is showing that they're not very open to suggestions. The library, I know that we're having building difficulties, but there was an individual, I saw that the security went out and told the person to move because they were parked where a person couldn't get out. And that does not speak well. They thought, oh, there's a slot that they got marked off, but we'll just park there anyway. The heck with it. And fortunately, somebody came out and told them to move. They didn't like it. And, you know, I wouldn't have their job for anything. I think the city needs to really stop and not think we got to spend every dime we take in and start doing the will of the people. Thank you.
Next, we have Deborah Johnson.
Good evening. I would first like, my name is Deborah Johnson, Ward 4. I would first like to express my appreciation for the genuine concerns for last meeting that I attended. I appreciate that. I just want to give a brief synopsis of why I'm here. And if you would like, would give me a moment to express my deepest concerns for this evening's regular agenda item. I would like for you to consider some important thoughts as you make your decision tonight. Last meeting, you asked for more information, yet here we are as a public with no more information than we did at the last meeting. And you, as a council, are presenting with being forced to make a decision on a matter that has not been publicly explored. How do you, as a committee, beyond any doubt, know that the community at large wants to create an additional commission using taxpayer dollars, also using staff time and community efforts? There is not any appearance to a mass amount of peers that are in agreement with this. In fact, it is quite the opposite. Many of my peers are upset that this is even a consideration. There also and already have an existing agency that is in cooperation to achieve this very same goal. Why are we as a community and you as a committee are giving charge to an already commissioned public safety and community relations board to not gather this information that this committee that you would like to vote on tonight can do? I think that the PSC our board was created for the good of our community. They should be instructed by you as a council to join the ongoing efforts that already exist. Let us also question, why does one person's personal agenda deserves priority over so many large concerns in our community? There is no commission for mental health in our community. There is no commission for the homeless population in our community. There is no commission on studying the future of our housing crisis and lower income residents in our community. But you would like to make a priority of a committee that can be joined in with a committee that already exists. And I just want to personally say to Mr. Dannenberg, as an elected official, you are representing me. And I would like for you to say no to this effort and to, as I voice my concerns. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Next, we have Serena Fish.
Good evening. My name is Serena Fish. I'm administrator for Westside Neighbors. I'm also on the PSCRB board. And basically, this commission is listed Special Commission for Safe Communities. The PSCRB board is Public Safety and Community Relations Board. By the way, Pastor Bennett is on the PSCRB board, as I am. As our history has gone along, we have been added different jobs, different things by either the mayor or the city manager to go forward and put something else in our agenda. The data that I keep hearing about, we get on a regular basis. Adding more data to that is no problem. We meet constantly. We've done special meetings. Also, we did a survey in our local area, and 68% of the people that replied did not want another commission. They were happy with the commission we have. We're we've been doing this for quite a few years. We're used to working with the police. We're used to working with other agencies, and adding additional items to our agenda is not a problem. Also, the list that was given of all the different agencies. Well, a lot of those agencies are already represented on the PSCRB board. I echo what Deborah said, that there is no reason to have another commission. Use what you already have. Use what people are already used to collecting and doing this. We're happy to do it. We're happy to serve. We're doing that already. And thank you very much for your time. We're happy to work with the city manager and the mayor. And I'm not saying, again, it's not necessary, but like Jackie said, there was one. We are not Chicago. We are not St. Louis. We are not New York. We are local. That's what you need to be concentrating on, local. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, we do have one more. However, we've hit our 30 minutes. Still have one more minute. Jeff saying we have one more minute.
One more minute.
We started at 6.
Okay. Well, and I mean, council can always make a motion to extend.
I'll move to extend.
Okay,
Second.
okay, all right. So moved by Councilmember Ward and second by Councilmember Dannenberger. To do a voice vote?
Yes, because I am still learning this program.
Okay.
And now that I started a new motion, I'm not sure how to close out of this new motion. Who's the seconder?
Councilman Dannenberger.
Thank you.
Uh, 3 minutes, right?
Okay. Motion should appear on your tablets. We could do an all in favor motion, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, let's just do that because that didn't seem to work.
Aye.
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 Okay. Yeah. I didn't hear any nays. Okay,
Our last
right.
speaker is D Urban.
okay, 3 minutes.
Mayor, Council, but since you just made a motion for 30 minutes, do I get 30 minutes?
3
It
minutes.
was 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
I'm gonna repeat it again, 3 minutes. No 1 second more, not one less.
I probably could have done it in one, but now that I have 2.5, I'm going all for all out. I want you to know that I actually raised 2 very strong-willed boys. I was a single mom raising 2 kids. And I successfully raised those 2 kids because I enforced one very important rule with them. And I would say to these 2 boys, you don't argue with me when I say yes. What gives you the right to argue with me when I say no? Think about that. If I say yes, you don't argue. You got what you wanted. But if I say no, you throw a tantrum because you want to get what you want. Sometimes we have to repetitively say no to the tantrum. It's kind of what you as an elected council are facing tonight. Do I say no to the tantrum? It's a tough place to be. It's a very tough place to be. And to be honest with you, I'm really glad I'm on this side and I'm not on your side, because I belong on this side. The hard truth here for you is that there's a lot of people that are saying, yes, we want safety in our community. Yes, we want data, we want information. But what they're telling you is, no, I don't want a commission to do it. They're saying, yes, let the people that are already on the commission do that. Yes, let the people that are already doing the job do that. Do you hear the difference between their yes and no? Yes, we want to be safe. No, we don't want to pay money for another commission, staff time, taxpayer dollars. We don't want to occupy these things to create another commission. How many people are appointed to the Welcome America Commission right now? None. You have gaps in lots of commissions. Where are the people lining up to be on those commissions? I'm sorry, another commission is not needed. Another commission is a no. Do we need gun safety? Do we need safety in our communities? Yes. Please, as elected officials, don't oppose your people. Don't argue with us. We're asking you to create the commission as part of the PSCRB that exists. Put it where it belongs. Don't spend our money on something we don't need. You're going to need money for water bills. You're going to come to us and ask for that too. Then don't waste our money now. Make it count when you need it. Good luck, and I hope you do the right thing.
Thank you. That's everybody, correct? Okay. All right, we're gonna move on to the consent agenda. And I am supposed to call on the clerk for a correction to item 7I.
Yes, so 7I, there is a typo in the PIN number. It was off by 1 digit in the subject line and in the background. It is not material to any of the item. All notices and publications were accurate. It's just a scrivener's error. So we ask that if you approve the consent agenda, it's as amended.
Okay. All right. Is, okay, is he Councilmember Ward?
Yes, I'd like to pull 7K, please.
Okay. Okay. Councilmember Bolin?
Yes, I'd like to approve as amended
Oh, okay. And without 7K?
with the exception of 7.
Okay. All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Councilmember Hendricks. And we are now going to
It should be on your screen now.
I don't have a vote.
yeah, I don't see it.
I'll take the motions or the votes instead.
Take the votes, okay.
Councilmember Kearns,
Yes.
Councilmember Bolin,
Yes.
Councilmember Motney,
Yes.
Councilmember Dannenberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Becker,
Yes.
Councilmember Hendricks.
Yes.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Lee,
Yes.
Councilmember Crumpler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Consent agenda without 7K passes, no nays to an. Hey, look at that. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Okay, awesome. All right. Just give everyone a chance to exit here. And if you wouldn't mind closing the door behind you, that'd be great. Thank you. There we go. All right, so we're gonna move on to item 7K, Councilmember Ward.
Thank you, Mayor. I pulled this not because I have any issues with it, but actually because I was hoping that city staff might be able to just very briefly give us a bit of an explanation of how this fits into the larger issues that we've been talking about in this community ever since the floods with regard to combined sewers and really making a difference and moving us forward with the whole issue.
Thank you, Councilmember Ward. This is an annual contract that is used to maintain our sewer system. So in our sewer system, we have combined sewers, we have sanitary sewers. And as noted in the council item, we have about 75% of it that we've televised since 2012. And in that assessment of the sewer system, we find some different defects that need attention. And as part of this contract, we're able to address those either through a lining, which is putting a pipe inside a pipe to make the original pipe, in better condition to continue to serve the community. Also, sometimes we have to do spot repairs and that type of thing. But in any case, in order to maintain the sewer system, this is a critical piece, whether it be, like I say, the combination sewers or sanitary sewers. If the sewer has a partial plug or collapse, obviously that can result in backups and problems that, the capacity of the pipe is no longer there as originally intended. So a critical piece that we do annually for maintenance of our system is what this is. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that and the work that you're doing, and I'd like to move approval.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Councilmember Bolin.
We're gonna test it again. Is it appearing on your iPads now? Okay. We'll just run through the list then. Councilmember Kearns,
Yes.
Councilmember Bolin,
Yep.
Councilmember Motney,
Yes.
Councilmember Dannenberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Becker,
Yes.
Councilmember Hendricks,
Yes.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Lee,
Yes.
Councilmember Crumpler.
Yes.
Okay, the item passes. There's no need to announce. We're gonna move on to item 8A on the regular agenda, consideration and action on an ordinance establishing a special commission for safe communities as requested by the city council. And I'm gonna turn it over to City Manager Gleason for some introductory remarks.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My comments are actually going to be fairly brief. This ordinance is being presented for consideration and action that will create a special commission for safe communities. The purpose of the commission will be to, one, collect, evaluate, and assess data on gun violence and weapons violations within the city. Two, identify patterns and underlying causes of gun violence and weapons violations within the city. And number three, provide specific recommendations about how the city might address identified issues. The commission will be made up of 9 members from community stakeholders and or those with an expertise in the area of gun violence. As to the deliverables, the commission will be required to give a progress report to the city council within 6 months of formation and required to provide actionable recommendations no later than 12 months after its formation. A final report is to be made no later than 2 years after its formation, at which point the city council will decide whether to keep the commission in existence. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, sounds good. At this point, do we have anybody who would like to speak? I know we've talked about this and to some extent in the during the committee of the whole, so. Councilmember Ward.
Thank you, Mayor. I too will keep my comments brief because I've spoken extensively on this over the last 2 years since I first raised this idea. So I'm glad that we're finally coming around to being able to take a vote on this tonight. I want to start with just a question and perhaps a show of hand or hands, if there's anybody out there who would volunteer to be the one. We've said even one person, one gun death is too many. So anybody, show of hands, you'd volunteer to be the one.
Excuse me. Let's not engage in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My question is, who would be the one, whose child would be sacrificed if there's only one in the community? We have had 69 shootings last year. To make the choice to shoot in anger is to make the choice to kill someone. There are about 69 people who will fit into this room. Anybody want to be one of those? 120 people in this country have died this year, today, rather, from gun violence. That's about twice the number of people in this room. Anybody want to be here and be one of them? We talk about silos. What happens in this community affects the rest of the country. What happens in the rest of the country affects this community. So who would be the one? The purpose of this commission is to pull together the information that's floating around out there, to bring it together and to bring recommendations so that we can act. If all these other commissions have this information, why haven't they done something? It's been 2 years since I raised this idea. If all of these other commissions have the ability to do this, why haven't we got a plan? Why haven't we got something done?
Let's not engage in debate. So let's, please. Thank you.
I move that we approve this plan. The time for words is done. Let's go get something done.
So there is a motion. Is there a second?
I will second.
A second by Councilmember Crumpler. Do we have additional discussion? Councilmember Motney?
So I just want to go back to February of 2022. In February of 2022, we were presented with an initiative that discussed gun violence specifically. And suggestions were made at that meeting that the very organizations who are now listed in our packet today should and have the opportunity to get together to discuss things that they feel this community should consider. That certainly is within their rights to do and something that I think is perhaps an opportunity. At that time, one of the reasons that we were told a gun violence commission specifically under the purview of the city government should be done because Champaign and Peoria had done so and it would legitimize the effort. In Champaign and in Peoria, there was no correlation between the activities and the recommendations of these commissions and crime in those communities. In fact, crime actually increased after those commissions were established. We also discussed at that time that gun policies are within the purview of state government and the federal government and not municipal government. And things like the red flag laws that were mentioned are state policy issues, not community issues. And it is correct, as was stated in public comment, that the numbers that we have are not statistically significant such that we would be able to glean any further statistical understanding of the outcomes of gun violence. But continuing on then with the discussion that's taken place over the last year and a half, we've talked about things like streetlights as a deterrent for crime. And streetlights are in fact a deterrent for crime statistically, but yet we had others on the council who believed that streetlights in fact were constituting light pollution. You know, as we go on further and have these discussions, you know, we're talking about the lack of data and the dialogue with some of the folks who attended the last meeting shifted from criminal gun violence to the lack of suicide data. And I actually went out and did some research on that. And first of all, attempted suicides, which was specifically mentioned as a gap in data. There are federal protections for health privacy that prevent that information from being given out. However, at aggregate, at the state and federal levels, that data is available. And it's interesting and informative, I think, disturbing to read. One of the major causes of gun violence and correlation between violence and also suicides, just generally, is addiction, gambling addiction, drug addiction, and alcohol addiction, very highly correlated. And yet the supporters and proponent of this particular commission voted to expand both cannabis and gambling in this community, a known correlating factor to the very cause we're looking to address with this commission. I found it very interesting as well, the comment about last week, we went around the table and said, do we want more information or not? And here we are today being asked to vote on something that we haven't truly debated and that we weren't even told we were going to be voted on. A couple of things also happened this week. One, I received an email indicating that the name of the commission was going to be changed to perhaps increase the number of council members who would support it without any other changes. I don't understand that. And then furthermore, I went and did some research with one of the organizations that was listed as a potential member. And looking back at that and looking at my notes from the two prior conversations, there was a number of discussions about this issue of restorative justice. And an organization specifically was mentioned, and that organization is the Illinois Balanced Restorative Justice Project, or IBRJ.org. I found it interesting as well that no reference to participation from the data that law enforcement could provide or from their perspective was listed as a potential member. And then I read one of the news posts of ILJP.org just this very month, where this organization referenced it's time to replace police, prosecutions, and prisons with repair and restoration. And as I looked through several of these other articles, what I concluded is this is about some of the policies in Chicago that led in the past week a 14-year-old at the direction of his mother murdering someone. And today the charges were dropped because of policies like what this organization is advocating for. And as someone who's the parent of someone who lives in the south side of Chicago, it's incredibly unsettling to look at a year with 304 homicides already and you know, I think 1,200 or so people who have been victims of gun violence. I don't understand what we will gain from this. The thought that we will gain access to additional information because we are a public body doesn't linearly connect for me, because we govern in this country under the prospects of open meetings and freedom of information. Information that would be available to us as a public body, as an endorsed commission, is no different than information that would be available to a group of very well-intended non-government organizations who care about this subject and want to make a difference in this area. So here we are tonight voting on something that we haven't truly explored, with a new name, asking for us to support it because perhaps it sounds different. I don't understand. And I am someone who is not a gun owner. I am someone who would not allow water guns at my house. And many people may think that is crazy, but it is true. I don't understand why we would take this group, this effort, and put it in a special commission, given to many of the public commenters the other issues that we have in this community that are important. And I actually had someone ask to me as an elected representative, do we need a special commission on things like roads, like streets, like sidewalks, like other things in this community? Where does it end? I don't disagree that one is too many. And I'm very compassionate about this particular subject. And when you get alerts and you can hear shots when you're talking to your son who lives in that area, it's very, very disturbing. But I do not understand how we get from A to B. The last thing I will leave with is I read about this organization and this commitment to restorative practices. The solutions that are being advocated are things like guaranteed minimum income and reparations. And I don't know if that's the expectations for the folks that are here in this room today, but that is listed. And I looked back in the notes and that was in fact mentioned by a prior council member when we were having this discussion. Where is this leading? My opinion hasn't changed.
Thank you. Councilmember Becker.
So I want to echo a couple things here. One, you know, like everybody said, none of us wants to see a single additional act of gun violence. I can tell you that I am a person who gun violence has touched my life personally. A very good friend and former employee took his own life a few years back with a gun. That's not the only suicide that I have had impact my life. I get it. I want to see that stopped. I will tell you this, that to say nothing is happening already in our town over the last 2 years, I find insulting to the many people that work on the county mental health groups, the criminal justice committee as a whole, the police forces, the folks at PATH that are interacting with those groups. There is a ton that is happening in this community already every day with fabulous data that is representative of the situation. I sit on the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. There is a ton that is happening, and I believe the efforts of all of the groups that are involved there are what you are seeing, and they're the reasons that our numbers are lower in this community than they are in other communities because of what is being done, not because of something that isn't being done. No one is sitting up here advocating against the emotional pleas to have a safe community, and we want our kids safe, and we want that. The work is being done. People are striving every minute of every day to make it better, to make it safer. This, I believe in my heart, will just be something that interferes with the effective results. So my vote against this commission is against inefficiency. Every time I talk up here, I talk about we need to be efficient in how we execute for this community. We need to achieve the results in the best possible way, right? Sometimes you get ideas that on the surface are good, but when you dig into it, they're not going to add value. In my opinion, we continue down the path. We continue to work with the folks that are actively working on this every single day. One of my favorite is in the back corner of the room right now. He works on this every single day with data that he knows, and he does an incredible job. I vote that we continue working with them, and you know, my opinion isn't going to change for right now. Thank you.
Councilmember Bolin.
Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate,
Let me just say this, Ms. Bear in mind, we have the time here for 45. We have left, so just keep that in mind.
I appreciate the comments that Alderman Becker made. I was going to say some of the same things. I want to go back to February 18 months ago, when this Gun Violence Commission initiative first was introduced. I was asked what it would take for my support. And my response was reach out to the McLean County Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, reach out to the McLean County criminal justice system to find out what is being done, what might benefit, what questions can be answered that you have, what information do they have, what are they doing, where is there a gap, how can we coordinate and collaborate? As far as I know, that has not happened. That implies or says to me that collaboration and cooperation may not be what's driving this. And to claim that nothing has been done or why hasn't something been done, I will echo what Councilmember Becker said. He goes to meetings at noon. I get up at 7. I have to be at the meeting at 7:30 in the morning with 20 professionals that work every day, sitting with people that are contemplating suicide. Families, they do what's called continuum of care, which are wraparound services. Who in this room has talked to anybody from those commissions? Who has talked to the district attorney to find out what patterns are going on. He's the one that knows. Answer me that. And also, I would like to correct the statement about gun violence is the #1 killer of children. It is the #1 killer of children and teens. And you know why? Because children are killing children. Paragraph article about Pastor Bennett. It's in our packet. I read it. He says it starts at home. And I agree 100%. Don't allow pistols in your house. And there was another comment made in that from Alan Chambers. I don't know him, but he said, the reason youth are picking up guns are as varied as the youth themselves. And what I see from the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council and the Behavioral Health Coordinating Council is that they approach things on a multifaceted level. That's the same what the police did with the $500,000 grant. They did a multifaceted approach. I would like to know what the moms sitting out here, what your group did with the $10,000 grant that was given to you from the state. What kind of sustainable program or impact was attained from that money? I will not support this. I think that, first of all, I will keep my word because I haven't heard anything back. And silos are created because of the lack of support for collaboration. And again, I do not see this mission or this commission wanting to collaborate and changing the name without changing the content disturbs me very much. And we had a council retreat and we had a robust conversation at that retreat. And it was determined at that retreat that violence, reduction of violence would be part of our vision. And now, this is deeply disturbing too. Now, we are changing that vision to include gun violence commission. So this whole situation is becoming very disturbing and I just do not want to endorse this.
Okay. Yeah, okay, all right. So time's up. All right, well, I don't see any other comments. I don't want to engage in back and forth.
Are you saying that we're not going to have any further comment
Because
because we're out of time?
Yeah, one, we're out of time. If people are ready to vote or not, or. Because I didn't see any other comments, so I was prepared to go for a vote. Do you have a comment? I just don't want us to engage in any back and forth. That's. Okay. All right, well, let's go ahead and vote then.
Councilmember Kearns? Yes. Councilmember Bolin?
No.
Councilmember Motney?
No.
Councilmember Dannenberger?
Yes.
Councilmember Becker?
No.
Councilmember Hendricks?
Yes.
Councilmember Ward?
Aye.
Councilmember Lee?
No.
Councilmember Crumpler?
Yes.
Yeah. So it looks like the yes have it, right?
Yep.
Okay, could you please announce the nays?
The nays are Councilmember Bolin, Councilmember Motney, Councilmember Becker, and Councilmember Lee.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda is the Finance Director's Report. And it doesn't look like Scott is here, and we have Chris. All right. And I'm going to turn it over to City Manager Gleason to introduce the item.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, and to the community. This is the Finance Director's Report. As the Mayor noted, Finance Director Scott Rathbun is out, and we have Chris Tomerlin stepping in. Longtime employee of the city, definitely a key member of the finance team. Chris?
Thank you, Mayor, Council, City Manager, and Deputy City Manager. This is the second of 3 presentations for April of 2023. Scott will cover the third and final one at the second meeting in July. The first report for fiscal 2024 will be presented in August. The reason for, I guess I want to call it a delay, is because of the lag in the revenues, the home rule and the state sales tax. We do not receive the May portion of those until actually the month of July. The local taxes are due on the 25th of the following month, so we will not have those recorded until early July. Next slide, please. So these are updated from last month. We do have some recognition on revenues for most of ours for the 12 months. I'll draw attention to the bottom line first. Scott has been speaking to, we've been running a surplus this year with our revenues. Right now we're positive 15 million for the categories that we're presenting here. Some of the highlights to touch on are the one big thing, the local motor fuel tax. We had estimated roughly 4 million this year, with the budget was 4.1, but we did come in on target at a little over 4.1. And as you know, that is earmarked for our roads in addition to 10% of the home rule sales tax every month. The income and replacement also have been running ahead this year, in addition to the home rule and state sales tax. Next slide, please. This slide relates to the general fund revenues. Couple of things to draw attention to. The ARPA category, that you will not see this category in fiscal 24. Those were revenues that were received in fiscal 22 and 23. The permits, we continue to see growth in our community, single family homes, and also commercial construction as well. The charges for services have run ahead this year. Scott has spoken to this before. The ambulance fees, a lot to do with our GMET program. And so bottom line, we are running ahead on revenues for fiscal 2023. Also, another one to point out is the investment income. The interest rates have obviously gone up quite a bit from the last 12 months. Next slide, please. Okay, drawing attention to expenditures. The first 2 categories, salary and benefits. So when the budget is put together every year, we actually put, and Scott has spoken to this before, but a good reminder that we actually do put a negative placeholder in due to vacancies that we have during the course of the year. That actually is factored into the revised budget. And just to draw attention to the budget, if you combine salary and benefits for the general fund for the revised budget column, it totals about 57.6 million. And if you look at the year to date, when you add those two together, it's 57.5. So within $100,000 for the year, with that negative placeholder of about 2.4 million that we had this year, we did bump that up to about 2.5 next year due to the number of vacancies that we have and then the time to fill them. A couple of other things to point out here as we get to the bottom, the projected year end, estimated fund balance at this time is a little bit over $59 million. Now, a couple of categories we've listed below here are not related to 23, but I think it's important to point these out. Council has passed some items for ARPA, the ECD, 3.5 million. Also, we had earmarked 2 million for Locust Colton out of ARPA. There also was a subsidy that was passed by council at the last meeting as part of the Locust Colton phase 4 and 5 for 7.7 million. We also, as part of the budget for 2024 in the general fund that was adopted, the way the budget was adopted was to use 3.4 million of planned fund balance during the course of the year. And then finally, council has also passed a couple of other budget amendments in May, one for engineering services, and then another for police for some carry forward items from the grant that we were not able to encumber before the end of the year. So again, with our fund balance estimated of general fund of about $59 million at the end of 2023, with all these other commitments that have been made, that brings down that projection already to 2024, about a month and a half in, to about $42 million. If you're looking at kind of a running total, I guess, so to speak, is the best way to say that. Next slide, please. Our enterprise funds: water, sewer, storm, solid waste, golf, and arena. I'll draw your attention to the total year-to-date gain loss for those. Water had a planned use of fund balance of $4.9 million. Sewer and storm did not. The reason the water balance for the year, the loss is not as high, as well as why the sewer and storm are in better position, is because Locust Colton was budgeted in fiscal 23. Again, not adopted and not passed until 2024 via budget amendment. So that's why those are a little bit higher. Also, sewer, storm, and solid waste do have a 3% bump every year that goes into effect that a previous council had passed. The arena surplus has to do with the RTU units that are budgeted. The budget this year for those is $5 million, and that would be brought back to council for them to consider at a future date. Next slide, please. And as always, these summaries can be found out on the city website, and I will open it up to any questions. Thank you.
Questions? Okay, great. You're gonna love this council. Thank you very much, Chris. Great job. Next item on the agenda is the city manager's discussion.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just a few slides to run through. And I think the first ones are retirements. Just a quick note. We do this at the Committee of the Whole, where we recognize new hires, promotions from within. And I have no idea how I did not think of recognizing the retirements every single month under Committee of the Whole. We do it at the end of the year, but I think it's more appropriate to add that to the new hires, again, the promotions. So in July, I'm going to catch us up, but in July at Committee of the Whole, we'll start doing that with the new hire and the promotion slides. Retired in January is Ronald, Parks Maintenance, 26 years to the city of Bloomington. Denise also retired, support services out of police, 14 years. Then in February, Matt Blaine retired support services also. I mean, look at that number, 31 years with the city of Bloomington. Next slide. I think we had a couple in June. We have Robbie Henson, engineering tech, 33 years with the city. Bobby Mays, we just had his retirement party last week, 27 years. Jeff Flaherty, deputy fire chief operations, 26 years. Kenny Bays, assistant police chief, a regular here in front of council, 25 years. Cindy Eagle, she was the face of HR for many years, 22 years. Bill Wright, sergeant with PD, 20 years. Mark Grady, lead fleet technician. They are definitely worth their weight in gold down there with fleet, 15 years. Richard, city electrician in sewer, 15 years. Maggie, we celebrated her retirement last week as well with Parks for 15 years. Next slide, please. Downtown Farmers Market. If anybody comes downtown, it's a happening spot on Saturday mornings. So even if you're just coming down to people watch, do it. It's a great time. Next slide. July 1st Friday is coming up on July 7th, Route 66 celebration. Next slide. Second Saturday sidewalk sales is July 8th. Next slide, please. That's going to do it for me. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And the mayor's discussion, I want to reiterate about the farmer's market, because the farmer's market is actually expanding, further down to the 300 block, I think. And I think that speaks to the great work that folks in the downtown division are doing, and how much, how many attractive things are going on down there. So I would definitely encourage people to do that. Also want to extend thanks to Mayor Pro Tem Donna Boland, who will be subbing in for me on July 10th, because I will be out of the country for a celebration of life for my dad after the 1 year of his passing, that we're doing a celebration of life. So thank you very much for doing that. And also want to make sure people get an opportunity to celebrate 4th of July and what is great about this country. And so sorry I will miss that. That's something that I always look forward to. Thank you. And do we have any comments from council members? Councilmember Boland?
Thanks for the heads up for the next meeting. No. I'm also going to be doing the holiday spectacular for the 4th of July. I did it last year when the mayor was out of town because of his father's death, and I'm kind of looking forward to it. And I have 2 big thank yous. Jeff Jurgens deserves a medal for the Connect Transit IGA. He is so patient and an expert negotiator. And it took many years, but we got it done. Thank you. And I want to thank Public Works for the resurfacing and sidewalks and curbs along MacArthur, because that's my route into town. So thank you.
All right, looks like everybody's ready to go home. So with that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Wu. Second by Councilmember Beck. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, we are adjourned.
Yes.